Let's talk about Windham High School football on tonight's episode of In and Around WPS. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Tracy Youngberg, proud superintendent of the Windham Public Schools, and I'm joined tonight with Mr. Randall Prose, our high school teacher, head football coach, and councilman, as well as Windham High School junior Malachi Fowler. Did I say that correctly? Who was also recently highlighted in the Hartford Courant, and he is a team captain for the Windham High School football team. So we're going to start off with you, Mr. Prose, and I wonder if you could just give us an idea of a little snapshot of your time here in Windham as a teacher and a coach.
Okay, sure. I've been in Windham Public Schools since, I believe, 2007, 6 or 7. I came to town. I got hired by a former principal, Gene Blaine, to teach school to work, like career education. Still doing it 18 years later. I love it. I help students kind of figure out what they want to be when they grow up. And then when they're juniors and seniors, I get to help them find internships and job shadowings. I get to go out in the community and meet everyone and help the students get into either trade school or college or go to Electric Boat. We have a lot of students that went down there. It's awesome. I taught history for years, but a big value of mine is impact and making a difference. And so if I can help a student figure out what they want to be successful and happy in their career, then I feel like that's a very rewarding piece for me.
I would totally agree with that. And Windham High School's been working really hard at that. So we appreciate all your efforts in that realm. I know that your philosophy in the classroom probably very much matches your philosophy on the field. Do you want to talk about how you make those connections?
Sure. I love coaching. Everyone loves to win. But that really isn't my priority. I love sports. I love high school athletics. I coach track and football. For me, it's character building, showing the students that I love the 4-year success stories. This guy's just super talented from the rip. But some of my favorite athletes were not that great as freshmen, but they worked really hard. They stuck with it. They showed up every day, lift weights, work out, and then junior, senior year have, great high school careers. And to me, that mirrors life. You show up every day, you have your team's back, you work really hard, and good things happen. And so, same thing in the classroom. It's sort of my same philosophy there. But, to me, I love seeing the kid. I live here in town. I moved to town. The very first year, I fell in love with Windham. I bought a house here. I've been here ever since. And I love seeing the kids and the parents and the community and seeing how they're doing, especially when they're all grown up and successful and things.
So you really are impacting the future. It's kind of neat. Okay, so we know Windham High School, the Whippets, go Whippets. They talk a lot at Windham High School about La Familia and that sense of belonging and community. Can either of you speak to that whole idea of La Familia, what it means to you? What is it actually?
La Familia is family. When we play football, it's bigger than just sports. It's a family. We don't give up on each other. We work hard with each other. It's a bond, and we try to hold that bond for the whole year. It creates a lot of good relationships throughout the year with friendships, and throughout life.
So it sounds like we're talking about a lot of life lessons here on both.
It is. Mally will speak to this. Oftentimes, their children, whether and they'll make a bad choice. They may not show up on Saturday morning, or they may slam their helmet down and storm off the field. And, it's kind of neat. We talk about like second chances, and, we're not really a hard line program. We're all willing to let kids earn their way back. And I think I'd had it with a young man this year, and Malachi was actually the one to point it out. I was like, Coach, we're family, You can't throw him out of our family, We got to let him come back. And I think we made him water boy for the game or whatever. But yeah, it's we take care of each other. We'll if it's financial or food or emotional support, whatever, the entire team has each other's back. They really do take care of each other.
So La Familia is it's Windham High School's sort of motto, but it extends to the football team as well. And it sounds like in that last story, you actually listened to Malachi's feedback about how to really be more of a family, or how to deal when you've had enough.
We had to deal with a lot of problems like that this year, but it's as good as a learning experience. It helps me learn from the kids. Coach learns from us. We learn from the coaches. It's all a good experience.
That's nice. That's very nice. Do you want to talk a little bit, Malachi, about how you got introduced to football in general?
Well, I moved here from New York when I was about 5 years old, maybe, I think. And,
What part of New York?
Queens.
Okay,
Queens.
I grew up on Long Island. We'll talk after this.
Yeah, so I moved here from New York, and I just wanted something to do. I tried soccer. I didn't like soccer. I tried baseball. I didn't like baseball. Tried basketball. I really didn't like basketball. Tried wrestling. Didn't like wrestling. Tried football. And at first, I didn't really like football. I didn't show up for like the first month. I think I wasn't there. I wasn't there throughout the summer. Then I was bored, stuck in the house. I told my mom, I was like, can I go to football practice? She was like, yeah, but if you go, you gotta go. You can't quit.
That's right. Commitment.
So, commitment, yeah. And I've been doing it, loving it ever since.
That's amazing that you found something that works for you, and it sounds like from some of the latest accolades that you're really good at it.
Yeah.
You're one of the captains. You want to talk a little bit about what that means exactly?
Just making sure people are there, making sure everybody's taken care of, make sure everybody's happy. You know, it's not hard being the leader of the team. A lot of us were really, really young. A lot of them didn't have varsity experience, so it was my job to teach them the ways and to like guide them through all the hardship that we went through this year.
That's great. Mr. Prose, could you maybe talk a little bit of how you identify the captains of the team?
Yeah, it's to me, it's one of the most important decisions we make. And it's more than talent. It has to do with being a good leader. The kids have to look up to the athlete. You could put someone in captain, but if the other students aren't looking up to them, they don't fit. We had juniors this year. We had 3 juniors, and Malachi, Asiel, and Darian Jenkins. They did a great job. We were talking about adversity on the way up here. We didn't know if we were going to win a game this year.
And you did really well.
I knew that we were going to win games. Nobody else did, but I knew.
We lost a lot of seniors last year.
Right.
And,
very young team.
We go through game 1, we get rained out, we don't finish it. Game 2, we do win. We beat Griswold in a heartbreaker, but we lost our starting quarterback. I was a senior, and we were excited to have Taj. And then we lost Julian Cruz, who was a 3-year starter, probably going to have an all-state year himself on both sides of the ball. And, kids were ready to fault throw their hands up in the air and quit and walk away. And these guys kept the team together. We really didn't lose kids for any challenges or adversity. They kept coming back and playing, and that's a testament to these guys.
That's amazing. So in addition to just being a player who did really well on the field this year, you also had additional responsibilities in that leadership role as captain.
Yeah.
How do you balance it all? How do you make sure your schoolwork is done, you're ready for the game on the field, and also playing that role of captain?
Well, it's a lot. It really is a lot. It's not easy at all. It's not as easy as people make it seem. I just try to do my best. I don't really try to think about it too much. I just a lot of the kids, they're respectful. So being a captain, it's a little hard, but it wasn't that hard at times. They made it easy, made it fun. It's balancing school and sports. That's a lot as well. I do my best to do that. I show up to class on time. I try to do my work.
You like the sounds of that?
Yeah, it's a great.
I like the sounds of that.
Yeah. So everyone knows there's academic eligibility associated with all of our high school sports, but it's deeper than that, right? It's like the whole life lesson about them really working hard, even when it's tough, and getting the stuff done and being responsible and following whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. So it sounds like you're working hard at that balance.
Yeah, and it's also during school, if I don't see some of my football players in class, I try to walk them to class to tell the teachers that I try to bring them to class, tell them that they was just on a little break, but here they are back in class. Try to keep them in class. You actually
deliver the kids to class?
Yes, actually, I do.
You really have worked with your captains, huh? I love this. That's great, Malachi. So one of the things that I noticed, and we put it up on our website, So Proud as a District, you were featured in the Hartford Courant, explaining about why you were happy to be a Whippet. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
I guess supposedly last year they was going to do a story, but they didn't do it. So this year, the reporter, what was her name? Miss Riley. She had she texted Prose saying, if I'm still a story. Prose said yes. And she came to one of the practices. She asked me a couple questions about how I liked football, how I liked being here, how did I start, and stuff like that. And it was cool. And they came to one of the practices and started taking pictures, stuff. So it was a cool experience. It's cool to see.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your family has a copy of that Hartford Courant article. It's pretty impressive.
Pretty cool.
Good for you. Congratulations. And I think there's more accolades to share. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you learned about Malachi's recent awards or honors?
Sure. Malachi was once again named first team All-State, Class SSS. He made it last year as a sophomore. So, repeating is quite an honor. He made it as a linebacker this year. Last year, he actually made it offensive lineman.
Nice.
So Monday, we're going to the Aqua Turf, get his picture taken, and there'll be another nice all-state dinner. There's tough competition there for his name to be in there. It's all the Class S schools and Double S schools combined. So he's going up against Bloomfield and Sonia, the Sheehan team that we played, and so to make that list is quite an honor. It's not easy to get on that list.
Excellent. What else can you tell me about the football team in general?
This is actually last year. I had a lot of pressure. We were supposed to win a state championship. We ended up, we struggled with the whole no home game thing, so that was quite a distraction all year, thinking we were going to play and not. But we went 9-1. We lost that heartbreaker to Ledyard, which cost us the ECCs, and then got knocked out in the first round. And this bunch, though, we had 2 or 3 returning starters, and kids just stepped up. The coaches did an amazing job. I mean, guys that had never played a varsity down, and they're playing both ways. And we won a lot of close games. I mean, games that teams were bigger, faster, and our kids just kept fighting and figured out a way in the end to win. And 7-0 in ECC. Ended up, making the playoffs again. I'm probably more proud of this bunch just because of the heart that they played with. Mally's a great leader. He never gives up. JC Diaz had an amazing season. I think he deserved to be All-State, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
But
next year, right?
Yeah. These guys, they're all coming back except JC. We lost him. We lost Justice Black, another kid, and Bartlett. But we're excited about next year's turn. I think the neat thing was we just had fun this year. We didn't put any pressure on ourselves. We just went out there and played. And, maybe I could take a lesson from that.
I was thinking the same thing, right? Apply that to real life.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, and Coach, feel free to jump in as well, is obviously you have a new field, new sound system, new lights. Talk to me about what it's like playing on the new field.
It was a really good feeling. It was beautiful. The turf is beautiful. It was one of the cleanest fields I've ever seen. It looks beautiful under the lights. It looks way better compared to the old field, all the mud and stuff like that. So it was beautiful. Come out there, the crowd would come. It was beautiful to run out there, play in front of Windham. It was a beautiful feeling. Yeah, I liked it.
I got to a couple games, and I do feel like the energy is palpable. You can feel that the people are excited to be in new bleachers, and everything looks nice and new. I don't know how you feel because.
Oh yeah, I think it definitely. We had a lot of crowds this year.
Yeah.
A lot of people show up.
Sure. So what else do I need to know about Windham High School or the football team or anything related to the sport in general?
We were ECC champs. It was a lot of hard work. It really was a lot of hard work, and it started during summer. It starts during spring. Kids come and lift.
Yeah, talk to me about that. In August, right? Or is it July?
We're already lifting.
Okay.
We're lifting 6 a.m.
Okay.
5 days a week.
And it's the hard part is it's getting kids to show up and to commit because after a long football season, people want to take breaks, and that's okay. But we started this year. We started during maybe after school ended. Because the coaches aren't allowed to coach, so I try to get guys to come to the field and have a little practice and try to get their feet wet a little bit just to keep their skills up to date and stuff like that. So it was cool. A lot of kids showed up. A lot of kids bought into it. And it's really
So you're actually leading those sessions.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Trying my best to do
They're
that.
called captain's practices.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that goes on behind the scenes. That's a really good message to put out there. Like outside of the season, they're still working at it without the coaches.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Do you know what you imagine yourself doing beyond high school?
No, not yet.
Not yet. It's okay.
I'm
And you
still
don't
thinking.
need to know, but I just wondered. What else, Mr. Prose, about what other connections can you make for us between the classroom and the field and the things that happen that
Hard
way?
work pays off.
Excellent
Show up
lesson.
every day. Those are the two most important things. Give it your best, but always show up. I think I took that from Coach Crudden. That was kind of his mantra. The hardest thing to do in life is show up every day. Get out of bed, go to work. We say a lot of things about like, are you going to quit on your family one day? We try to the going gets tough. Are you going to like fold and quit on your family when the going gets tough? Or are you going to get up and go to work? So like we try to mirror life through the game and the lessons. And, I love coaching at Windham and, we're not a big squad.
Right.
Everyone's crying because a lot of people aren't playing football anymore because of the concussion thing.
Yeah.
And so they we got 45, 50 kids. We never have 45,
Yeah,
50 kids.
we had about 18 kids maybe show
We
up
have
to
35,
practice.
40 kids a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 to start off. We end the season with 20, 25. So this is our way of life. We play
Sure.
both ways. He never leaves the field. No one gets a break. It's about toughness. We're not as big, but our kids are tough and they're fast and they'll hit you. And to a team, every coach I shake their hand, they'll say, "Wow, your kids are tough." And I love coaching that. I love seeing the bigger guys go down to our kids. And anybody that went to Windham will tell you it's been like that for a long time. And don't underestimate us.
I love
at
that.
your own demise. Yeah.
So Malachi, if you had to talk to people kids that are thinking about going out for the football team, what might be a message you would send to them?
Come try out. You got nothing to lose. Just keep trying. Try out. You have nothing to lose. It's something new that you haven't done before. Just show up. Show up. That's half of it. Just like you show up to class, show up to football, and the rest of that you just do it. It's easy.
We have levels. We have JV freshman teams too. So a lot of the younger kids are a little scared. They're not going to hit Malachi. They're going to hit kids their own age. We also have a shoe fund. I know cleats are quite expensive.
What's the shoe fund?
The shoe fund comes from the mayor, comes from alumni. We go up and meet. There's a group that meets at the Elks the last Friday or first Friday
I think it's the
of every month. And they are a room full of Windham alumni. There's probably 50 of them.
Yeah, that's a
And
lot.
once a year we go up and say hi and talk to them. Most of them played football. But they ask what the challenges were for, our kids in our program and, the cost of cleats. As a dad
Interesting.
who raised 6 kids, when fall would come and you already had all the school clothes purchased and the
Right.
school shoes purchased and the school supplies. And then your son or daughter comes to you and says, "Can I get a $200 pair of cleats to add on to that? And I need a practice shoes too."
That's right.
So, I realized that was a big challenge. So we started that and that helped a lot. I tell the kids I got the money, I got the cleats. We went through the boosters. Mr. DeVivo gave us $5,000, just boom, like that.
Wow.
And it helps. And, we also use that money to send a lot of our kids to camps to show off for colleges and learn skills. This year, we're going to go to a team camp. Probably going to take like 20 varsity kids over to Central Connecticut State.
Okay.
And that's where you'll see those more affluent towns. You're going to run into Glastonbury. We're going to see Sheehan there. You're going to see New Fairfield there. And I was like, if we're going to take this program to the next level, we have to be able to attend those things as well.
Sure.
So that has been a big goal of mine, is to try to get, get to go to some of those summer team camps that the other schools go to.
Yeah, really trying to level the playing field, no pun intended,
Well,
right?
I will say that Coach Ellis from Fitch and Jimmy Bunacore from Ledyard and some others did a great job lobbying the state of Connecticut for a more equal playing field.
Sure.
And now we're allowed to actually coach the kids 2 days a week in the summer. So unlike some schools whose parents can hire private coaches, and here's your quarterback coach, here's your this, and they get trained all summer, all schools in Connecticut are allowed to go out 2 days a week and teach skills. So that helps a lot. Before if we were seeing coaching football skills out of season, we were in trouble.
Right, because it's against the way the rules were written, right? So I've heard a lot of things, a lot of lessons that connect back to life in general from both of you, the things that are really important. Do you think is that actually said in the practices and at the games? Is it spelled out like that, or are you doing it sort of behind the scenes?
No, I preach it every day.
You preach it every day. Like, this is what you're showing us what your life can be like by...
It's constant, and the assistant coaches are great. They do the same thing, and they mentor and they talk to students all the time about, I mean, it's hard work to show up every day.
Sure.
Summer camp and school, and it's important that you're here. It's important that you're here for your teammates and for your family.
So you mentioned the town sort of pitching in and alumni pitching in. Is there anything the district can do for the football program that they're not currently doing?
No, you guys are great. We have a great facility. We have great equipment. It's just as nice as anybody. Everything's there.
The uniforms look nice.
Uniforms are great. The shoulder pads, the helmets. The shoe budget would be probably a lot to ask for. But that's
a couple $100 per player, right?
Yeah. And you're talking 50 players.
50 players.
Yeah,
but it's interesting, though, when you think about a community like ours that really does struggle with poverty. That would be one of those.
That's an extra challenge you're putting on a family. And students are proud. They're not going to show up without a nice pair of cleats.
And
it's amazing what status shoes
absolutely.
are. Like, they make fun of my shoes at times. And but, mister, where'd you get those? But you can't ask a 14, 15-year-old kid to come in with a $50 pair of shoes when everyone else is wearing a $200 pair of shoes. It's just not fair.
Sure.
And yeah, that would be nice. It'd be nice if we could help do that. But I think it's that way in all sports. I coach track.
I was just going to say,
track is going to be another one because
right.
You need spikes, you need throwing shoes, you need jumping shoes. It's like a constant expense.
Male and female sports, they both need the same thing. So we have to look at what that would cost us. We need a benefactor.
Well, I do think some schools have actually signed on with companies like Nike or Under Armour.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I believe Ram does that, or maybe we can ask Dakota about it. He'll say, "Oh, we've got Under Armour," and so by wearing all the same thing, they
get a cut. Yeah. They get a discount. All right, what else do you want the community to know about Windham High School football?
It's a tough program. It's a great rising program. When I came here as a freshman, the year before was not so good. I believe they went 3-7.
We had a 3-7.
3-7.
I'm always amazed that you can remember seasons year after year.
Yeah,
we're starting to blur together.
So the year before I came, we was 3-7, and we weren't that good. Nobody really came to the games. Nobody really respected Windham football. So when I came in as a freshman, I really came into I want respect. Windham wants respect. So our first year we didn't do so well. Well, we kind of did.
6-4.
6-4. We went 6-4. Then the year after that we went 9-1.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Then the year after that we went 7-3. So it's all about consistency now. We had a good season, so now keeping it consistent. We had 2 back-to-back playoff appearances. That hasn't happened since 2006, 2007, around that time. So now that we're finally hitting up there, going upwards. Next year we should win a state championship.
That's what I was going to ask you. What are the goals for your senior year?
We have to win a state championship. I would hate to leave Windham High School without having a state championship in football.
Windham football's ever
won a state championship.
Oh, so then that's really a lofty goal, and you're focused on it.
And all the kids, they're buying in. They're ready to put work in and battle teams like Sheehan, which we should have beat. We shouldn't have. That was teams like Glastonbury. Those teams. They just have better. What you say? They just have They just have better, I don't know the word. But
they have
more resources.
Yeah.
And
sure.
Yeah, so we don't have that many resources, but we got heart.
You got heart, and that's what matters,
all that
right?
matters. So we're
Absolutely.
We're gonna put the work in this year, and we should be state champs by next year.
All right,
No
and I know
doubt.
just one more piece about the Hartford Current, I know that you potentially had a chance to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But sort of we're rethinking that. So can you talk just a little bit about that? Maybe it is about that heart.
Yeah, I had a lot of opportunity to go elsewhere, but I didn't really want to. I mean, it was a great opportunity to go, and I wonder how I went. I wonder how things would have played out for me. But I'm here at Windham. It's not bad at all. It's the people are amazing, community is amazing. There's nothing wrong with the school's amazing. School does a lot for the kids. You know, like stuff like this, those stuff like podcasts,
Yeah.
you know, it's good. I don't really
We're going to
see
make
why.
you a star, Malachi. A star out off the field, I mean, because you're already one on the field.
There was no reason for me to go like I could just come. I feel like I could have came to Windham and succeeded just like I would somewhere else.
Excellent. That's a message we want the community to hear also, that you're sort of the, spelling out the reasons why Windham High School, Windham in general makes sense for a lot of people.
For people don't go to Windham Tech or E.L. Smith because we're just as good or if not better than those schools.
All right. I think we're going to need him in the recruitment office, right? Central office job. All right. I thank you both for being on the show tonight, on the podcast tonight.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all the things that you've shared on a positive note about Windham High School and the Windham High School football program. And that wraps up episode 3 of In and Around WPS. Have a good night, everyone.